Have you ever worked tirelessly on a sketch, spent ages doing line art, only to have your drawing come out worse? Have you abandoned projects because you put so much detail into the sketch that the thought of lining it makes you want to cry? I avoided line art for actual years because my sketches always looked worse after I line them. And oh my gosh, I'm sorry, but I find doing line art so tedious and boring. But I said enough is enough. Okay, I want to draw cute anime characters. Okay, I've made some gains as well. I have spent years in the Pinterest mountains. Okay, and I'm not an expert, but I want to show you the gains that I've made. Okay, I've gone from this to this. So if you're a beginner or you want to do line art but you're intimidated and you like my progress, then let this video be one of a bunch that you watch, okay? Let's do better line art, let's get faster at it, and let's think a little differently instead of blindly stumbling around with our tablet pens, okay? Because that's what I was doing for ages. And now I actually like doing line art, okay? All right, so let's go. Part one, do you need line art? Okay, so this is probably a weird way to start a line art video, but bear with me, okay? Now, if you see doing line art as like a barrier to drawing your cute anime girls, then don't, because I think a lot of beginners see it as a mandatory step to drawing stylized anime-esque characters. Also, if I start saying things like don't or do this, not that, you can obviously do what you want. I'm not an expert. This is just what I do. Okay, gather as many resources on this topic as you can, find a method that you like, blah, blah, blah. Anyway. So as I was saying, you don't need to go over your sketch with a tidy light art layer as the next step in the drawing process. Let's look at two artist examples to show what I am talking about. Okay, this is art by George Kamitani. He is the artist for the Vanillaware games, okay? We love. You might be thinking, oh, the line art, it's so smooth and so nice. How is this relevant? But if we look closer, you can see there's regions of the painting. See this wing in the background, the dragon's wing here. There is no outline. So he does not have a line art step in his process. Just going by these paintings, you can see he either edits his sketch during the painting process or adds these sort of what look like smooth lines, like here on the hair, on the shoulders, under her underarm here, and the fingers. These harder lines on the staff here would have been added during the rendering process. You can see having no outline here makes the dragon's wing look like it's a thinner material. Here on the armor, having a thicker outline makes the armor look heavier. Overall, you know, he achieves this anime-esque stylized look, but with a rendering style that's more painterly, and that's, get out of here, Microsoft. You know what I mean? Like, you don't need it to achieve the look. But what if you wanted to have a more anime-y style that was like more graphic and less painterly? How would you achieve that without having a line art layer? Okay, so now we're looking at two pieces by Takahito Harada, another artist who does a lot of game art for Nippon Ichi Software Games. Here you've got a less painterly, more graphic style, but still anime-esque, okay? Like George Kamitani's art, we have sections without lines to demonstrate depth, like how you can see with this character's pigtail. There's no outline in the background. And even the lines on the wedding dress, I believe, are leftovers from the sketch layer or just drawn over top of the painted colored layer. Even here, these lines here on this pigtail, where they aren't on this pigtail, I believe these lines would have been added after the color, or they're just leftovers from the sketch. Okay, you know what I mean? Okay, oh my gosh, it's so hard to find step-by-steps and works in progresses by either of these artists. But anyway, this is a preview scan of Harada's art book. Here on the right hand side is the step-by-step. It's just a preview, so you can't see all of it, but you can see what I was talking about. Okay, so here's the step-by-step. We've got the first character, second character is drawn in here, the little preemie penguin is here, the fan appears here. Okay, this is a step-by-step, and you can see exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, he goes straight into color with no line art. You can probably see just barely. Oh my goodness, here. Okay, so we've gone straight in with the color. We don't have any line art here yet. And then he gradually adds in the details. Okay, so The ponytail here is all filled up with shadow color. We went in again with a lighter color. And I reckon here is where you put in those thicker outlines that we were talking about before. Okay. So if you're discouraged from pursuing a style that's more anime-esque, don't let line art be a barrier. These two artists are just an example, but you can find a myriad of artists that draw in a stylized way and still create polished looking work without doing line art. So next time you see a piece of art that you like, look closely at the construction and ask yourself, did they use fresh line art for it, or did they go straight in with the color? Like, all methods are valid with this, okay? Before I had a real go at practicing my line art, I primarily painted without a line art layer. Instead, I just erased and darkened sections of the sketch layer until things looked right. At first glance, it probably looks like there's line art, but there isn't, okay? Like, if you look closely, you can actually see how rough it is. I have some videos up to show how I painted both of these if you're interested in this method, and I still use it today. But we're here to make good line art, okay? So let's move on to part 2. Okay, part 2, have a reference. Now, if you're a beginner or you're like me and you get frustrated with your line art looking ugly or worse than your sketch or just not right, I recommend having a line art style reference or inspiration, okay? Venture forth into the Pinterest mountains until you find your line art dreams, okay? When you're picking a reference, look carefully at the art. Make sure there is a clearly identifiable line art layer, okay? If the line art kind of starts and then stops, they might be an artist that doesn't do a separate line art layer, much like Takehito Harada or George Kamitani, so not the best example, okay? Look for qualities that resonate with you. Do you like a sharp, smooth style or a more imperfect or jagged style? Do you like thin, precise lines or a more graphic, thicker line style? If I gave you a sketch and I asked you to line it twice, once in Shigenori Soejima style on the left here, and then in Tetsuya Nomura style on the right here, you can see how you'd end up with two different pieces, even though you started with the same sketch, alright? This is the way you need to think when you're picking a reference and when you're doing a line art. The line art itself will affect the finish of the artwork, okay? Manga art is also a good place to start to find reference, as the work is black and white, so you're less likely to get distracted by the colors. Examine the qualities of the line art. What do you think the line art says about the characters, their world, or the tone of the story? If it appeals to you, it might be a good place to start before you find your own line art style that works for you. Okay, so you've decided that you want to do good line art and you've picked a line art reference that you want to follow. Now what? How do you take the good line art in the reference and apply it to your sketch that you keep making worse with your line art? Okay, part 3, the 3 consistencies. Okay, this is something I made up, but if someone's done it first, then good, because it means someone agrees with me here, okay? So there's 3 things that you want to keep consistent when you start your line art. Weight, texture, and taper. Weight refers to the line thickness or weight of the line. Texture refers to the softness, opacity, and texture of the line. And taper refers to the way the line finishes. You know, how much does a line taper to a point as it ends? Okay. Take a look at these 2 paintings. These are actually 2 unrelated pieces by 2 different artists. I think Lamb's is promotional work for an art festival, and Mika Pikazo's is VTuber art. Okay, but what we want to focus on are the 3 consistencies of the lineup because, you know, though the tone and subject matter in both pieces is similar, the lineup is pretty different. Okay, let's have a look. Okay, now the weight. Both artists here use a thicker outline versus the inside lines, such as the hair strands. Lamb's weight stays generally consistent across each stroke, whereas Mika Pikazo's lines are a little less consistent. If we compare the shoulders, almost emulating a traditional ink pen versus Lamb's lines have a more precise digital smoothness. Mika Pikazo's lines consistently break along the line. You can see on the fingers and the mouth versus Lamb's, which stay solid across the entire piece. All right, this adds a lot to the clean and digital versus raw and traditional effects created here. Okay. Now, texture. Both artists have a smooth texture line art, and you can see can't see through the lines. The lines are solid without any blurriness. You look at these lines and you can tell that they were drawn with a solid pen versus a piece of chalk, is what I mean. And finally, taper. This one's a little subtle here, but there is a difference. See how the lines end on both of these pieces, particularly the hair. Lamb's hairlines end in a sharp tapered point, whereas Mika Pikazo's end a little more bluntly. You can see this on the finger lines, where the end of the line is rounder than Lamb's. I use these examples because both of these artists are consistent with their weight, texture, and tapering of their lines. It would look strange if you took a full body sketch of a character and you got Lamb to line the head in their style and then Mika Pikazo to line the body in their own style. If you put both of the line arts together, you would have inconsistencies across the piece. Like, am I making sense? I hope I'm making sense because, like, you know, because I think following the 3 consistencies is the key to making your line art, like, look good. Class, it's test time. Before you are 2 drawings of Hatsune Miku, one's by Lamb and one's by Mika Pikazo. Can you guess based on the line art who drew which? I'll give you a second to guess. Okay, time's up. If you guessed Mika Pikazo on the left and Lamb on the right, then you're right. Gold star for you. And if you didn't, rewind the video and retake the class. Like, okay, I'm kidding. But do you see what I'm saying? Like, look at the fingers on the left, how they break along here versus Lamb's, which are more consistent and do not break. They're solid. See how Lamb's lines are the same weight from the bottom of her back down to the top of her head versus Mika Pikazo's, where we've got a thin line here into a thicker line closer to her neck here. Don't be fooled by the gap in the cheek. This is the line art colored a darker skin color. Otherwise, it's all very smooth, all very consistent, all very digital. And Mika Pikazo's is a bit more varied. And as we said, we've got the breaking along the line here. So we know how important the 3 consistencies are. Now that we know that, let's get our tools and start line arting. Okay, part 4, tools and setup. So this is my setup. Yay, Photoshop. Okay, please don't run away. Okay, you don't need Photoshop for this. But this is just how my setup is when I do my art. Okay, I have my canvas here, my tools on the left, my line art brushes and layers on the right, and in the top right I have a thumbnail view of the canvas, which I fully recommend because art that looks good in thumbnail form, oh my god, thumbnail form draws your attention. So I'm always checking the thumbnail as I paint, but that's more important for when you're sketching and adding color, not so much for line art. But I thought I'd explain like what this thing is all about. So here I'm going to be lining, I've already kind of started here, this full body sketch of my original character, Aoife. Okay, she is a mythical kraken girly and she's so cute, and she is a friend of my mascot, Namu. Okay, love. Okay. So now for this, I have my reference in the canvas on the same layer. My reference is Namu herself because I wanted the line art, okay, to be the same. That's why I've got her in the same canvas. I could put it in the same window, but you'll kind of see in a second why I slap it right on the canvas rather than like have it in a separate window, okay? I forgot to say what I'm using. Okay, so I use a Microsoft Surface Pro 8. It's a laptop with a touchscreen and a Surface Pen, so you can paint with it. I'm not sure if I would recommend this device for new artists. It's pretty expensive and not repair friendly. I like it though, because you can take it anywhere and use any Windows compatible program on it, so it works for me. But the stuff I'm trying to get across in this video are ideas that should apply to you, whether you're doing line art by hand or digitally. Like, okay, if you're using a Wacom Bamboo or an iPad Pro or just like an ink pen. Okay, so we've got our tools and our setup ready to go. Let's move on to part 5, time to line. Okay, I thought I would jump in here real quick and just show you what it means to do bad line art and not follow the 3 consistencies. Okay, I think this is where a lot of beginners go wrong and how they sort of, you know, muck up their line art and make it look worse than the sketch. Okay, so here we go. I'll show you what I mean when you don't follow the 3 consistencies we just learned about, okay? going around. I'm just doing my line art. I'll try to go quick for the sake of time here. So I'm going around pretty smooth. This is a good brush. This is like one of my normal line art brushes that I use. Gotta do her eyebrows. Put eyebrows somewhere in there. Should we stop there? Should we stop there? Do here, whoopsie. Do here as well, a little bit. And I'm chucking some here. Yeah, okay, we'll stop there. Now you look at this. It doesn't look bad, right? It looks okay. Now let me hide the sketch. You zoom in. It looks like shit. Like, excuse my language, but it does, okay? And let's look at why. The taper, look, it's all pointed in this inner ear part and rounded over here. I've just gone ahead and just lined it without actually thinking. Look, the sketch looks way cuter than the line art. And that's because we've just gone ahead and lined it around without thinking about how our line ends. We haven't thought about how the weight is. This neckline is thin. This hairline is way thicker. It's all inconsistent and crazy looking. The eyelashes, it's round. I did this really quick just to show you. But even if you take your time but wasn't thinking about the taper and the weight of the line, it would still look messed up in the end. Look at this, it's pointed here, it's round here. It's wrong. Okay, so that's why I just wanted to jump in and show you how your line art ends up looking worse than your sketch because you just line without thinking. Do you know what I mean? So after this, you're gonna see me doing a screen recording of how I actually do it, how I actually do my lines when I'm thinking about the weight and the taper. Texture we don't have to think about because I'm using a solid brush. It's solid, it's hard, it's not blurry. But the weight and the taper is very important. I think some people, you know, if you're more like a practical thinker, this advice will help you. Some people, this is like innate and they have the taper and the weight automatically come out as they draw because it's innate. They know about appeal. They know that the lines need to be consistent across the board in order to make the drawing look good. You know, if that doesn't come naturally to you, hopefully consciously thinking about the taper and the weight as you draw will help you improve your line art. You know, if you're consciously thinking about it. And eventually, when you line things over and over and over again, you do many drawings, it'll become innate. You'll draw a line and it will end in the correct taper, or the weight will be consistent across the board in the way that matches your reference. Oh, that's another thing. Like you can tell with this line art here, I didn't use a reference. I didn't have a reference. I had no line art inspiration in mind. I just went ahead and did it, and as a result, we've got craziness look around here. Like, look, so round here, pointed eyebrow here, rounded eyebrow here, like F minus, okay? So let's get back to the actual screen recording. Okay, so in order to match the line art on my reference, which is Namu, I'm taking the brush that I used for her, which is a hard line art brush. Okay, it's graphic, it's sharp, it's got 100% opacity up here, and the pen pressure is on, so I can taper the ends of the lines depending on how hard I draw each stroke. Okay, so here I do a little test stroke to match the size of the lines I use for Namu as best I can. Okay, I'm also making sure my line art is on a new layer of its own. It's also probably a good idea to lock your sketch layer. I haven't locked it here, but probably I recommend doing that. Just locking your sketch layer, just maybe locking your sketch layer. If you're a beginner, just maybe locking it, all right? I also recommend using multiple layers for different sections. If you're a digital art beginner, so putting the hair and clothes on different line art layers just to make changes easier. Also drop the sketch layer opacity down a decent amount. I think for this one, probably about 40%, just so you don't get confused. Some people also change the color of their sketch layer so they don't get mixed up. And just some general tips to get smooth lines, zoom in a decent amount. I'm at 200% here. Don't be afraid to erase and go over the same spot multiple times before you get the desired weight or thickness of the line. If your sketch lines are thicker than your brush, draw your line in the innermost part of the sketch. That makes sense. Frequently hiding the sketch layer so you can see where the mistakes are as well is a very good idea. Okay, I've just jumped ahead to show an example of me hiding and unhiding the sketch layer. So you can see me here. I've just done the face. So I am unhiding and hiding again the sketch layer. This helps you find mistakes. So fat fingers, weird lumps, stuff like this. And if it looks good with the sketch turned off, then you know that you're doing the right thing, okay? And keep checking your reference too. If you're frequently hiding your line art layer, you'll be able to, hiding your sketch layer, you'll be able to catch if your line art starts to look worse than your sketch as well. So then you can stop and, fix where things are getting ugly. Like if the cheeks are not round enough, if an elbow is too pointy, is the mouth expression looking neutral instead of happy? Keep that in mind that this line art is replacing your sketch. With this method, you'll be able to say goodbye to the sketch, so your line art will be an enhanced and focused version of the sketch and not just a simple outline, okay? Okay, so this is me drawing this line art in real life just to show how I do my strokes. So you can kind of see here, I'm doing sort of quick, short strokes depending on what I'm lining. Sometimes I go over the same spot more than once. So you don't have to do a perfectly smooth line in one single stroke. You can go back and fix it. Okay, see, I mucked up that little bang there, but I went back and fixed it. And this one here, look, I mucked that one up too, but I just go over it again. Like, it's not going to be perfect every time. You have to go back and redo it. So these long bits of hair, I try my best to go smooth and steady, and sometimes it takes multiple times doing the same spot over and over and over again. See this tentacle bit here? Oh my gosh, look. I'm so proud of that. And these like suction cup bits here, they're a little bit wonky. They're not perfect, but like I said before, I'm zoomed in like 200%. When you zoom back out, you're not even going to notice it. So don't be afraid of little like wobblynesses as long as you keep the thickness consistent, keep your line weight and your taper consistent. Oh, this is what I mean about the sketch being thicker than my pen. So I'm drawing the line on the innermost part of the sketch. Because if I drew it on the outside, the tentacle will be too fat. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, this is kind of what it looks like. I'm doing a mix of slow and steady and like quick strokes as well to get the smoothness. After a while, you get the hang of it after using your device for long enough, depending on what your chosen device is. And yeah. And this is the final look with her all colored. The line art's pretty consistent and I'm happy with the results. If you would like to get started with line arting, you don't need fancy brushes, but if you would like to use mine, my brushes are up on my website for free with my brush pack. They are .abr files, so you can import them into Photoshop, Clip Studio, Procreate, and other programs. Just Google how to install .abr files into your chosen program and you are good to go. I've also included some of my sketches if you would like to practice lining a sketch right away. So links to all of that are down below. Hopefully this gets you thinking differently about doing line art. Pretty much practice is key. I know that's so annoying, but it's true. You'll get there faster if you're thinking while doing it. Like using a reference and thinking about the 3 consistencies are ways you can improve your line art, whether you're drawing traditionally or digitally. Also, don't give up. Oh my God, I really hated doing line art when I first started, but I'm slowly getting there and I've made really good progress in a short amount of time by changing the way I think when I do my lines. So thank you so much for watching. I don't do tutorials because like I don't think I'm good at teaching, but hopefully you took something away from this, and if you did, let me know, and I'll see you next time. Also, I have a website and an Instagram and a Twitter. Okay, so I don't post many YouTube videos, so check me out there. Okay, bye bye.